Spooky Tuesday.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you, darling.
Darling, the only ghoul in the house is you.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Death.
And this week, we are going old school. I mean, like your grandparents, even your great-grandparents for some of you. Or
For the Gen Z listeners.
Your parents. There's got to be some boomer listeners out there. Mark, I know you better be listening to this podcast. This is a test.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark. We are watching the 1959 horror B-movie classic, House on Haunted Hill.
Can it be called a B movie if it was like a leading film of its day?
I think this was
It
a B
is.
movie.
It is, yeah. And all of the
Like-
articles I read, they were like, William Castle, the king of B movies. Like, yeah, it's this
Yeah,
whole
like-
deal.
This was a B movie that people just fell in love with, and it became
Okay.
so popular that it, kind of got a cult status. But like, it's
Yeah.
clearly a B movie from
Oh.
watching
Sure.
it.
Look,
Inspired
from
Alfred
the
Hitchcock,
fucking
though.
from the get-go, we get the scream, we get the disembodied fucking heads. The disembodied heads let you know that this is a B movie from the get.
I love a good disembodied head moment, though,
Who doesn't?
and we
Oh, I
get
love it
3
too.
in this movie.
Thank God. Also, a thing I noticed that I did not fact check, but I think I'm right, is that
Uh-huh.
I think they just filmed them, like the two actors who do the disembodied head things, wearing a black t-shirt with a tightly cropped neck in front of a black background. Because like there's one part where Vincent Price, like it's panning back from him and you can see where his neck cuts off, and it's like, yeah, he's just wearing like a crew neck t-shirt. That's what's happening. Special effects, movie magic.
Practical effects are always better, you
Better.
guys. And that just goes
Agreed.
to show.
Well, if you haven't seen this absolute banger of a classic, House on Haunted Hill is about a millionaire offers 5 people $10,000 each to be locked in a large spooky house that he's rented overnight for his wife's party, which she doesn't even want to have, which is great.
I mean, she does in her own way.
She does want to have it. She's just a great actress on screen, off screen, all around. I'm trying to say in the plot and as the actress.
an
Oh,
actress.
what am I saying?
You nailed it.
We're
I think you
starting
got
off
it
strong.
exactly right. Everybody understood exactly what you were going for. Probably people listening at home clapped and said, that was so
Oh.
articulate.
So well said. I'm known for that. I am known for my articulateness, which is also a word.
For sure.
I mean, besides being a great actress on and off screen, Carol Art. I don't know how to say her name.
I like the
It's
last
also
one, though.
a fucking stone cold fox, so that's really nice too.
Oh, she looks so good in this movie, and she's mean and
Mhm.
is very sexy.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yeah, I
going
mean, I
right
gotta
back
be
to the mean
honest.
lesbian trope right here.
Mean bisexual, thank you.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, I didn't get the full vibes at first. We actually we watched this movie together for the first time in a long time. So cute. We all hopped on Zoom. But so we were like doing our little live reactions. And I gotta say I was not giving it my full attention because Monica, you had your camera on. And so, but it was always just
what?
like,
I had my camera on the
I
whole
wasn't
time.
sure if you knew because I kept being like, ha ha ha, love seeing just Monica's forehead or the ceiling in Monica's apartment. You never responded. And I was like, okay, she knows, whatever. She's
No, I didn't
this is what
see
she
any
wants.
of those messages.
This
Did
is
I,
by
pick
design.
my nose or anything gross. Jesus.
No,
I mean,
not
we
that I
only saw
saw.
your forehead, so
Yeah.
you're good.
But yeah, I kept glancing down to see like what was going on with you. Every time it popped back up. So it was a little distracting. But I revisited the movie today. And the vibes were a lot more clear between Annabelle and Mr. Lauren from the beginning. They don't like each other, is what I gathered. Did you guys get that sense?
I also didn't like at first when I first watched it with y'all. I was overwhelmed by the stimuli of having to talk to you via text and also watch at the same time. So I was like, how does one watch and type at once? You
We're out
can't,
of practice.
like it's not possible to look at a screen and type at the same time. That said, I was like, oh, they have such playful, slightly hate oriented flirting when I first watched it. When I rewatched it this morning and I was like, no, it's unadulterated loathing. That is very plain for anyone to see. An abusive relationship, some might say.
I should go to my therapist because I thought it was very sexy.
I mean, parts of it are, but I did
were.
not like when he shook up the champagne and then pointed it at her. And then he even makes a joke like, Playboy kills wife with champagne cork. And I was just like, okay, don't be a little bitch. Like, he's such a hater.
I don't know. That sounds like foreplay to me. So again, something I should bring up in therapy.
You did like the hair pull. You very much mentioned that as we were watching.
I did.
The hair pull is not for me, but
Not for me.
I can see the appeal.
Very
but
much
I was
for me.
mostly mad because he was yanking on her beautiful 50s hairdo. As someone who has tried to replicate that exact hair look many, many times and failed. It was stunning to see it in such beautiful, form. But when he yanked on it, I was like, you don't touch the hair. She spent hours on that. How dare you? And also don't hurt her. Don't hurt her.
Vintage hair did take a lot of effort to get through.
Such a long time. I have these like rollers. The rollers take forever and then it has to set. That takes forever. You got to plan a full like 12 hours in advance if you want to look good in that way. And it's hard. And also my hair's shitty. So it gets all clunked up at the bottom and it never looks like hers. So what the hell?
Tragic.
So many people are like, oh God, I was born in the wrong decade and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't like to like blow dry my hair. I would kill myself if I had to like set my hair like for hours. I'd be like, no, it looked great though. And like the men's hair all like style, like slicked back. Like everybody just looks so good in this extremely bisexual movie.
Oh, it's so bisexual. Oh my God. But I love how it opens. Like, I know we already talked about the disembodied heads, but it's literally like you get, what's his name? Watson Pritchard right from the get-go, who has the saddest little boy face I've ever seen. He's not a little boy. He is an adult, older man. But he looks so pouty. Even in his IMDb photo, the actor's name is Alicia Cook Jr., which like we love a male Alicia. That's very amazing to me and exciting. He looks super sad. Like he looks soup sad in his little hat. He's like, oh no, the eyebrows are furrowed. But why wouldn't they be furrowed? Because his brother and his brother's wife were murdered in this house on the haunted hill. Okay. And so he's very upset about it. He knows all about ghosts, and we need someone who knows about ghosts. It helps that he's also maybe a raging alcoholic, so that adds some spice to his ghost stories.
He actually is super interesting though. And you're right, he does look very boyish, which is why when we were watching, I was like, if we remade this movie again, because it's been remade 1 billion times. But if we did a new one, like the Michael J. Fox young boyish face would be perfect. But then I was also thinking William H. Macy from Shameless would do great.
Wait. He looks exactly like William H. Macy.
Yeah, William H. Macy would kill it. But
That's
What
crazy.
was I saying? I was saying, oh, why is he there other than he owns the house? You know what I mean? I think they talk about it in the beginning. While we're at the beginning, they do like he does his whole little, this house is haunted. So many people have died here. I wrote down that whole quote, but I'm not gonna read it. And then Mr. Lauren, I don't know. He does his own little intro, the second disembodied head. And then he also intros everybody as they're like driving up in their funeral cars.
I loved that part. Also, when he announced that everyone was rolling up in a fucking like hearse like funeral car, I was like, Sydney would do that. If Sydney was throwing a big crazy party and she could do that, she would do that. She'd be like, yeah, you have to show up in a fucking hearse. Let's go.
I even in the thing, I was like, yo, this is exactly how I would want to have a party. High key. My dream, I've always wanted a hearse. Always. Like I begged my parents to get me one when I was like learning how to drive as like a first car, you know? And so my dream is to find like a vintage one at some point and take my kids to school in it and like be in like the carpool line and like my kids get out of like the back of the hearse.
They get out of the back, like you just like a whole fucking coffin like comes out the back and it opens and your kids are like,
listen,
rise up like the Addams Family. Yeah,
we're here for the dramatics, okay? My future non-existent child is going to be here for my antics.
Your non-existent future child is a weird way to phrase it, is going to be Wednesday Addams, but like spicier if possible.
You want to have a lot. I'm sure at least one will be spooky.
I do. One
will rise up out of the coffin. Yeah.
I mean, as far as this movie goes, like right off the bat, I was so into this because it just gives you immediate and then there were none Agatha Christie vibes. Like Sydney, I didn't know
the best vibes.
Oh, yes. I'm freaking obsessed with Agatha Christie. I'm sitting next to, oh, wait. Oh my God. Oh, never mind. It's not the right book. I thought I was sitting next to my copy of The Haunting of the Hill House, but it's We Have Always Lived in the Castle, which is different and also spooky. Oh. But I have Agatha Christie books next to me at all times while recording. I love her so much. And Then There Were None is my favorite one I've read so far.
It's one of my favorite books ever. It's so good.
I made my book club read it and they are scaredy bitches. They can't even listen to the pod and haters. But I made them fucking read the book. And this setup is really similar to that. Not in the way that it ends up and you should read it. I would never spoil that book for you. But the fact that like it's all these people who don't know each other and they don't know the person that invited them to the house and they're there to like, you know, get something from being there.
It's very Clue.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Clue definitely
is playing on this film for sure.
100%. 100%.
Oh, I mean, even down to the chandelier thing.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I was like, okay, Clue, we're on to you now. We're getting
like setting it when they did. And there's a moment in this movie where Lance grabs like 2 candles out of the candlestick, and that felt like Clue adjacent to me since the candlestick is such a big like plot point. The revolvers, you know what I mean?
When did Clue the game come out?
Probably also the 50s.
I feel like Clue took this movie and then like injected it straight to the vein with cocaine and just went like extra camp. You know what I mean?
The Clue board game came out in 1949.
Ah, okay. All right. I was going to say they plagiarized this movie to create the board game, which then became the film, but that's not true. But yeah, this movie, at first I was not like totally figuring out what was going on because I couldn't understand the level of camp, but it is very fully camp. It's just in black and white, so you know it's a little confusing for a modern brain to understand. And also Sydney insisted that we watch it in black and white, and she was correct.
Yes. Yeah.
This movie has to be watched in black and white, although I have seen the colorized version, and I just need everybody to know that the incredible like power suit that Annabelle Lauren is wearing is purple and gold.
Wow.
So
love that for her.
It's a gold, it's like a purple suit with like a shiny gold top
Lakers
underneath
fan.
it. Exactly. I'm like, She
She's a chic
absolutely
bitch.
slayed.
Mhm.
Damn.
But
she's
other
so
than that,
fucking
no
cute.
other reason to watch the color ed version. Like this movie, like has to be done in black and white. It's just man, like I was mad when I watched it in color. I was mad, so mad.
It just adds that extra little bit of spookiness to it, I think. And I just don't watch that many black and white movies, so it's kind of novel experience. Um, but yeah, this movie right off the bat, like you're figuring out that Dr. Lauren, is it Doctor, Mr. Master, Meister,
Mister.
Mr.
The doctor is
Mister.
David Trent.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Lauren is like, okay, I haven't watched nearly enough Vincent Price shit, but he's fucking unreal. Like, absolutely incredible. He's so spooky. His mustache is so spooky. Like,
Mhm.
everything about him. And, like, also,
Tim
I know,
Curry wants what he has, frankly, but also Tim Curry has
how dare you say that? But
everything.
yes,
Yeah.
also, you're right. You're also right, but don't speak ill of my man, okay? Just to be
Mhm,
clear.
mhm, mhm.
But something I read in one of the articles, is there's so many fun like odes and like just like lovey-dovey articles about this movie. Like people are just like, this is the best. It makes me so happy. This is my comfort movie. Like this is like Halloween is this movie to me. Like I have to watch it every Halloween because it just brings me so much joy. But something that they talked about was like the way they did the cinematography in this movie. It actually makes it like still very scary. Like it's not scary in the way that a modern film is, but it's super unsettling. Like they play with like anticipation a lot. And so it's like there's not like so many jump scares. There are some. But it's more like the space between them that really gets you. Like this quote that I read from one of the articles I've linked in the references says, as the panning shots take in the room and the increasing feeling of dread, it also takes in the environments, the doors closing, candles going out or dimming, yet nothing jumps out. Rather, the panning presents the tension and crafts the expectation. It's the terror that we expect there to be at the end of the pan, but whatever it is, it's not there. And for a moment, there's relief, yet a heightened sense of anxiety is left with you. And I was like, wow, yes, exactly. Because there's so many, like they're just excited about their set. They're like, look at every little thing that we put in this set. Here's a long panning shot through it all. You've got to the corner, there's no ghost there. Like when the ghost does actually pop out, it's like so unexpected because Nora and Lance have been staring, like looking everywhere to find this ghost. Who turns out not to be a ghost. In this like completely barren room. Like what was the deal with that room in the basement that was just had not one single thing in it at all?
The basement was like the place where one of the previous owners made wine. So I'm assuming it was probably like an
maybe
old
it's just
wine
like a
cellar
storage room.
or storage room. But I love that they like somebody points out, they're like, why are there so many doors in this room? And then later it's just so all the doors can like creepishly creak shut and be very spooky. And I'm like, love this, love this.
But that scene is so great when they have the candles because the lighting is really wonderful in it too. Like
Yeah.
they do these like lighting tricks using the camera's movement and like from towards and away from the actors.
And the
and so like the
shadows,
light just from their candle, like making their shadow really, really big or really, really small. I thought that part was great. But they also just use like so many gimmicks. Like it was, I think, a scary movie on its own at the time, especially just like, you know, conventions of the day were different, and technology was different, but they did a lot of gimmicks. And I first encountered this term on IMDb trivia, and I was like, I don't know what that is. But it's called, I think, emergo. Emergo.
I saw that and I was like, what the hell does that mean? Continue.
Yeah, because the first mention I saw said some of the emergo equipment still exists. It has been resurrected for use during special showings of the film. And I was like, okay. But what it is that like when you went to see the movie in theater, not only does it open with that scream and the pitch black screen, which is not necessarily super effective when you're watching at home on your TV.
I still freaked out.
It still will startle you if you don't know it's coming. But Sydney mentioned it, and I was like trying to figure out if I was watching the color version or not. So it didn't really catch me by surprise. But then when I was reading articles and IMDb trivia, it was like, yeah, but imagine you're in a pitch dark movie theater. It's a big screen. The scream comes out of nowhere. Like, yeah, that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
The atmosphere being set in such a way. But what Emergo is they had basically like boxes up front by the screen in the theater, and they had little skeletons in there, and then when the skeleton comes out in the movie, they like fly a skeleton over the audience, and then when the skeleton is pulled back in the movie, they like reel the skeleton back in over the audience.
I need that to happen in the movie theater for me.
Yes, and they did a bunch of stuff like that. Like they also had like buzzers under seats, and they were doing like a real like 3D kind of style.
4D.
Do you know the Shrek 4D
yes.
like ride at Universal? That's exactly the vibe that they were going for. They said, we want what Shrek has.
That's so funny. Wait, okay. Didn't William Castle also do 13 Ghosts, the original one? And wasn't there another super innovative thing with that? We just did this episode 2 months ago. I forgot. Yeah, it's the glasses.
The
glasses. You could only see the ghosts when you were wearing the glasses.
William Castle.
Mind
of the gods.
I want to give him a little
creative
kiss.
Brain.
What a genius. That's amazing. Wow.
A true talent.
Apparently, he also hired on-site nurses in case an audience member, quote, died of fright. So like they were doing all kinds of, and like some of the ads featured the decapitated heads from the movie, and so they got like pulled basically for being too gross, and so they were like, our ads are so scary we can't even run them. Like they really leaned into the marketing of it all, which seems really fun. People should do that more again now. What was that movie just a few years ago where it was like they did the blood drive and stuff like that? Like I feel like we're not getting good gimmicks on as part of the theater going experience as much these days. I just think that is a very fun thing, and they should bring back having fun.
I bring back fun in 2022. No, I'm totally with you. I thought you meant like innovative like marketing stuff too. And the only thing that came to mind when you were talking about the masks, like, oh, our ads were pulled, and then they used that as an ad, is I was thinking of Gossip Girl.
Yeah, the Gossip Girl
negative
scandal.
quotes as
Iconic.
the taglines.
Iconic.
It all
Gossip
comes
Girl.
back to Gossip Girl.
It always comes back to Gossip Girl. But I mean, as far as marketing wise, though, the one that also did that incredible, innovative, and immersive marketing was Blair Witch, as we all know. I went on an hour-long rant about that.
Incredible marketing.
But okay, before I forget to say this, I just want to say it because if you haven't watched this movie and you're somehow listening this much to the pod, this much to this episode, which is fine. It has been out for 10,000 years. This movie is Cassandra Peterson, aka Elvira's favorite horror movie, according to an interview with Larry King. Okay, and why would she lie to Larry King?
Our girl.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I mean, if it's Elvira's favorite and it inspired Alfred Hitchcock to make Psycho, you really can't say a single bad thing about this film. Like, what are you gonna say?
What are you gonna say? If you say something bad about it, you're gonna sound dumb.
Here's the thing about this film is it's not scary anymore. I said something to y'all. I was like, this is a movie that I would let my children watch. And y'all were like, oh, I don't know. There's a hanging in it. I was like, that's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. They probably see worse things on the news nowadays, you know?
Oh, sweet.
Sure.
But again, like this is a very like family friendly, like fun, like horror movie that like you could watch with maybe not like super young, but like with like your kids.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's fun for the whole family. I mean, and it gives you great ideas for your kids' next party. Why not hand out coffin-shaped boxes with revolvers inside? That's a great party favor. People will love that.
that is a great party favor. And I'm in Alabama, so like it's a very reasonable party
You
idea.
get a gun, and you get a gun,
get a
and
gun.
you
It's a
get a
great
gun.
reminder if you give them in coffins. You know what I mean? Like you're having
Oh,
your gun, but you're also
poignant.
making your statement.
Wow. Yeah. Too true. Too true. I did really love that aspect of it though. Like that really upped the ante. So like the whole idea, I guess, is that like Mr. Lauren said that like you had until 12 to decide if you wanted to stay. And a bunch of fucking spooky shit was happening overnight or like in the hours preceding 12. So like you had a lot of chances to be super scared and be like, fuck it, it's not worth $10,000. I'm gonna get gone. But then right when Nora, our girl, who is such a little cutie patootie, she is not Mrs. Lauren. She's the other woman who is not the other woman. There are 3 women. Oh my God. There's
Ruth,
Nora,
Annabelle, Nora,
Annabelle. What's the other one's name?
Ruth.
Ruth.
Who, you know, Ruth serves no purpose.
She's
in
just
this
there
story.
to get blood dripped on her, which is honestly the only real spooky thing that happens.
Right.
And that needs to be discussed at some point.
Well, there's a couple
Oh.
other spooky things that happen and then are like never brought up again. Like the blood happens.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And then it happens again, but like
Uh-huh.
nothing ever comes of it. And then we learn at the beginning that Watson, the guy that owns the house,
Watson Pritchard.
his brother and wife and sister-in-law were like all
His
murdered.
brother's wife murdered his brother and her own sister. So his
Sister.
sister-in-law did the
Oh.
murdering of her sister and her husband.
Very
Yes.
confusing. Very confusing.
But like they chopped up the body and they were like, we found hands and feet and legs, but like we've never found the heads. And then later in the movie, like the heads are in the box and they like show them the heads and then they're never discussed ever again.
Well, they are discussed again, actually, because Dr. David Trent, spoilers if this is your moment and you're like, wait, I want to watch and I don't know what happens yet, dip out here. But if you proceed, then you either already know or will be glad to know that
If you don't know,
there's-
you're about to know.
yeah, there's been a ruse all along, because Mr. Lauren threw this party for his wife, Annabelle, and she's like, I don't want to go. And he's like, it's your party. And she's like, it was my party until you invited all these strangers. Like they really emphasize that there are strangers. But then it is revealed that Annabelle actually was like planting seeds all along because she and Dr. David Trent, the psychiatrist, were working together. And like at one point near the end, they discuss a bunch of the spooky stuff and go like, oh yes, like the heads scared Nora for sure, or whatever they say. Like, so
Yeah,
they
no, that
seemingly take credit for the heads. But I don't know if they mentioned the blood. But to me, the blood at least is like spooky on its own because it drips only on Ruth's hand and only when her hand is right under it. It's not like dripping any other time. So that timing of that is very like ghostly, spooky, paranormal to me. There's something there.
I feel like the house is actually haunted. I think it's actually haunted, but there's also a bunch of fucks in there doing fuckboy shit, you know?
Sure.
I definitely agree that the house is haunted. It is because we also learned, this is a great thing. We talked about the basement and all the weird empty rooms and how it was a wine like cellar, or one of the
Like,
owners
he
used to make
made
wine
there. Yeah.
But he turned his like wine vat into a vat of acid that is still in the house because like why not?
Just
And
bubbling away.
Wouldn't that like dissolve? Does it literally only dissolve flesh? Like, how does that work? Is that real? I should have Googled that. I should have
Googled?
Googled that.
I should have Googled.
I have watched Breaking Bad, and I know that they use some sort of chemical or acid to dissolve a body at one point, but in like a big rubber tub. So it doesn't
Oh, it
dissolve
doesn't
the
do
rubber
the
tub. So
tub.
presumably there are some materials that would be impervious
Yeah.
to the effects.
And then
of
there's that part
chemical
where it's
acid.
definitely not
Yeah.
porcelain because they did it in the bathtub and then it dissolved the whole bathtub. That whole
It
Mhm,
probably
mhm.
only like dissolves organic materials. So like
Yeah.
flesh and all
But
that
not
kind of stuff.
bones.
Flesh and hair, they definitely say for sure in this movie.
Yeah.
And then the bones kept rising to the surface. And
Oh my
what I
God.
love about that is that the skeletons all stay fully combobulated and attached to each other still.
It also does not dissolve cartilage, so it seems. So all of the bones can still stick together, which is not how it would work. But we like it.
But what's incredible is we get the best scene ever where
Oh,
they
yeah.
just happen to find a dead rat. And
It's Mr. Pritchard's house. He says, "Oh, I know where the dead rats are. Don't worry, you guys."
don't worry, I was saving this for a demo. And he throws like the dead rat in the vat. It makes a way big splash and gets
And nobody
on,
jumps away.
and nobody does anything. Hilarious.
Oh
But
my
then
God.
like the rat skeleton is the star of the entire movie.
Yeah, for
That-
sure.
If I start a band, it's going to be called Rat Skeleton.
Rat
Something like
skeleton.
Yes,
But
I'll
one
join
of
your
the
band.
One of the
Ooh,
things-
wait, it could be like what is it, like Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, like Rat Skeleton and the Vat of Acid or something like that. I feel like
Very
that's like
fun.
actually
and
a great
also-
name for a band.
Yeah.
No one steal that.
Nobody
I
take that.
used to sing.
Creates a
Trademark,
lot of room
TM.
for a rotating cast of characters as well. Because
Yeah.
Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros has like 40 people.
Yeah, I want that full orchestra.
Incredible.
For
Rat
the Rat
skeleton and the vat of
and
acid.
Rat Skeleton and the Vat of Acid.
Stunning, gorgeous.
Oh wow.
But also another fun fact is all of the skeletons used in this movie were real skeletons.
Even the rat.
I think so, yeah. I think all like the skeletons were real skeletons because it was easier than getting like prop skeletons at the time.
That's what
Those
IMDb
were the
trivia
days.
said. That's what IMDb trivia said about the human skeleton for sure, which weirds me out because I don't like that those are just real bones that are in like 6th grade science classrooms. You know what I mean?
As somebody
that
who
makes me
loves
feel
bones,
strange.
I've been desperately searching for like a real human bone, like complete skeleton like that, but they're too out. Like I'm in the wrong tax bracket to own one.
Mm.
They're
They're
like-
really
What's that mean?
expensive.
They're so expensive. It's like
Yeah.
10
Okay.
grand.
Wow.
And like
who could have
I-
guessed?
I just
I feel like I heard my
have-
science teacher talking about this one time in high school. So they have to be like donated to you essentially because they're so pricey. You know, it is
Yeah, they're
a
like-
human body.
I
Sure.
keep trying to convince my loved ones in their will that that I want their skulls. Like I want them to leave me their skulls
my
so I
skull.
can display it on like a shelf with like labels and like just have it
your death.
Mhm.
right upon your death. I would
demand-
like you to bequeath me your skull. Please and thank
Upon
you.
your
So
death, I need you to decapitate yourself or get someone to do it. Probably that's more realistic.
they'll do it.
And then I don't know, wait it out. No, drop the skull into a vat of acid to get all the skin off, and then give it to me.
They let beetles eat the skull and bones. That's mostly how it's done.
Ooh, pleasant.
Wowie.
I've also been
C'est la vie.
looking into seeing if I can go apprentice at like a taxidermy place around here.
I
'cause,
want
you know,
that for you because I want
Thank
more
you.
taxidermy in my life, and I'd like it better if you made it.
Thank you.
I know where it comes from. That said, I really relate to you about that because I was the bitch who stayed super late on every single dissection day in science class so I could continue
Oh, I love
dissecting
dissection day.
more. And I don't think that that's weird. I think it's fine. My science teachers were not alarmed at the least. They were excited about my vivacious
Enthusiasm.
desire to learn.
Wow.
But yeah, I stayed after class for as long as they'd let me with the sheep's brain. That shit was nuts.
I loved
Oh my god!
I
doing
wish you guys could
dissections
see Chelsea's
in high
face
school.
right now.
It was so fun.
I never did one. I mean, we dissected like owl pellets in the Boy Scouts, of which I was not one, but I was a little hanger-on, a little Boy Scout accessory. But I never frogs, fetal pigs, whatever, never happened for me.
I never got to do the fetal pig, and I'm honestly like super upset about it to this day. There's no avenue for an adult to dissect a fetal pig without it being illegal.
You could
So-
become the science teacher.
We did a fetal. I'm honestly jealous of your sheep brain. We did the fetal pig and a
the cat might have freaked me out. Anyway, taxidermy. We love
Anyway,
it. We're
back
gonna
to the
move on. I'm
podcast.
sorry. Here, I'm gonna switch rat
Rat
skeleton in the vat of
skeleton.
acid. Performing live. Send us lyric ideas. Okay, thanks. Anyway, something I want to talk about because I was so excited about it is the actual setting for this movie.
Mhm.
It is supposed to be the house on Haunted Hill, but what is that house on that haunted hill? Well, it's the Ennis house, which is in Los Feliz, which I could like probably walk there. It would take me a long time because it's way up a hill, but it's very, very, very close to my house. I'm going to drag Chelsea there shortly. So the Ennis house is one of the most iconic Frank Lloyd Wright houses. It's super gorgeous. It has this like Mayan style. This is like the little bio of it. The Ennis house, a veritable Hollywood icon with over 80 screen appearances, is the last and largest of Wright's 4 Los Angeles area textile blocks houses. One of the other ones is the Hollyhock House, and it's at a park that's really close to where I live as well. And it's super, super sick. But this house has been in so many movies. This is one of the most iconic ones. But it was also in Blade Runner in 1982. So that's where it got like really, really famous. It was also in a 75 film called The Day of the Locust, which I'd love to see. And it was also in a movie called Female that came out in 1933, which sounds interesting. The best thing that I've seen on here is that it was the mansion that was occupied by Angelus, Spike, and Drusilla in the television series Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh,
Very
So
fun.
that's amazing. And it's also in the Karate Kid Part 3. What?
Important to be in the Karate Kid Part 3.
Deeply important, but it's in countless things. Oh, it was in Westworld. Yeah, it does in Westworld. Oh my god, yeah, it's the house in Westworld, I think in season 2, where it's like flashes into like present day or something like that, and it's in that house anyway. But it's a really, really iconic locale, and it's got such an incredible look to it. It's really spooky. It's really like unique, the classic haunted house is more like a Victorian style, and so I love they use something so architecturally interesting for this. But they did not film inside of the house. Obvi, it was a set. Wouldn't be able to pull all those hijinks in a historical house such as that. Like
they wouldn't have been able to install the vat of acid. I mean,
No,
that
yeah,
took a lot of construction.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, the vat of acid, bringing in that much acid to a house this
Mhm.
beautiful, it's just something that they didn't want to risk.
Can't damage the historical landmark.
Yeah. And that's the only reason why. That's the only reason why. But okay, let's talk about really quickly Lance, because we haven't talked about him at all.
Boo!
And I feel like
I
we
hate
have
him.
mixed feelings on Lance. He is handsome, I'll give him that. He looks like a painting of a man, in my opinion. like the average 50s man. That's
Yeah.
him.
Ultimately, he's fine, and he doesn't really do anything good or bad in particular. I think we're supposed to ship him with Nora. And maybe he was like romantic per the norms of the time, but I just get like whack vibes from him.
he's a little sus.
He like closes the door and like locks them in the acid room immediately. Like he doesn't lock it,
And
but like
she
why
tries
does he
to
close the
open
door?
it, and then he leans against it again. Like,
Yeah, he like traps her in
predatory
the acid
vibes.
room. There was just a rat dissolved in there. Like no one wants to stay around. Probably smells like shit.
yeah, and he
and
like
then-
sort of saves her from falling into the acid, but it also sort of seemed like he was like shook her as though she weren't already falling, but as though he was making it seem like he was saving her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was really stupid. And then I also don't like, I mean, they talk about like hysteria all the time in this movie, and every time it came up, well, Sydney, what is the leading way to clear up a bout of hysteria in a woman, what should one do?
A vibrator, baby.
Look,
That was literally like the medical, like how they would cure women of hysteria, and they were bored. They were meant like the doctors were like, we don't want to manually do this, so they invented the vibrator.
That's how it was invented.
is it scientifically sound? I don't know, but it seems like a good idea at the same time. You know what I
Shit,
mean?
when I'm hysterical, works for me.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Works for me.
You're freaking out, and someone is like, "Don't worry about this. I got it. You just chill."
Like, you don't have
Okay.
to do it yourself.
I'm listening.
Even better.
You just lay there. It's great. Like that's why
The
women love to go to
ultimate
the doctor
pillow
more
princess.
than men, because back in the day they're getting vibed out at the doctor. Sounds great.
Listen, I know life expectancy was like way short back then, but like they used to just give you like cocaine and opiates and like masturbate you, and like honestly, sounds incredible.
They also fucking lobotomize people. So like there's
That
the two
part
sides.
was
There's the
bad.
two sides.
Here's the thing.
I've heard that that's bad.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to be lobotomized. Who knows?
Bro, I was reading Empire of Pain, which is that book about the Sackler dynasty. It's really, really good book. But like the OG Sackler, Arthur Sackler, he like first worked in asylums, excuse me. And they're describing like how the lobotomy became popular, and the reason that they loved it so much is because they're like, boop, it's quick, it's done. They're docile as hell. Like they literally just could do like 30 a day because they're just like bonk, 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 done. That's it. Like that's it. Only one bonk and you're done. So like how like that's a brain surgery where they just like just stabbed you in the brain and that was it. Like God, I'm happy to be here in 2022. Personally, I can buy my own vibrator. I don't need the doctor to do it. Very alarming stuff. Very alarming stuff. But anyway, Lance, here's my question. He's like trying to be helpful. He's trying to help Nora, even though at first he's like, she's hysterical. She's seeing a ghost and she's not there. The ghost was actually a woman that worked at the house. Can we talk about that actually? Let's talk about that actually first. How was that woman walking around? If she's a real woman, why she's walking like that? Why is she
She's
walking
clearly
like that?
on a skateboard. Okay.
She's literally on the first skateboard.
Got rollerblades on, yeah.
She's back. Nobody knows this, but back in 1950s, they actually had the hoverboards that small children use today for
Oh.
One wheels.
Just like doing
She's
all
on
the
a fucking
tricks.
one wheel.
And
We
Oh,
already
cringe.
mentioned Marty McFly. I mean, it is only reasonable that the reason Mr. Pritchard looks like Michael J. Fox is because actually the hoverboards from Back to the Future started in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, they went back from the future to the past and they gave that old lady a hoverboard.
That feels like
Perfect.
it tracks with the plots of the Back to the Future movies.
Yeah, it
Yes.
scans for me. It's just super unfortunate that like this couple, like they're playing on the people who are pulling the hijinks, who are pulling the strings literally, for all of these spooks and scares, are banking on the fact that like the caretakers of this house are just like pretty curmudgeonly looking. And it's so unfortunate. Just like, yeah, y'all are just living your lives, but you look fucking terrifying. So we're going to use that.
I wonder if they like teased her hair on purpose, maybe. I think I get the impression that the caretakers were told that they were playing a fun little spooky prank of some kind. Because again, when David and Annabelle are like going over their plan later, basically they say something like, we hope they don't talk, as if to say like, we hope they don't connect that with the murder we're gonna orchestrate. And also they say like they were gonna disguise her fake suicide as just like another prank and say like it was a dummy that they used all along. Although I'm not sure how they were gonna pull that off, because why would the doctor not have said something at the time if he could tell it was a dummy? Anyway, but yeah, I think they were just like, would you like to do something spooky and fun with us? It's my birthday. And I think that's a compelling pitch for anybody, you know what I mean? So I'm
They're
imagining
down
that they're
bitches.
like,
I love them.
yeah, they're
Wish we
doing
had
like
more
some
of
extra
them.
costuming. They're like helping them lean into the vibes.
They love a good prank, okay?
As
Like
do we.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
Like Chelsea, they love a prank.
They
And
love
that's-
a prank.
it's super relatable. But okay, what I was gonna say about Lance is like, where does he go in that wall? You know, remember when he goes in the wall and then he's gone for like 20 minutes of the movie, and then they just get him out of the wall, and no one says anything about his time in the wall. There's no discussion of his wall time. He doesn't talk about it. Like, what horrors lie and wait for him behind the wall? We'll never know. These questions haunt me at night.
One of the things that I want to know is, where did they get the spooky hand from? Did they make it? Did they?
Were they
What is
crafting?
the spooky hand?
With Nora? Or when it like is coming to grab her mouth after when she's up in her room, and then there's the whole window thing. How did they make the rope slither also is a good question.
Yeah. There are a lot of questions that I have. Okay, so one glaring thing that we have not discussed is that our main lady, I've forgotten her name again.
Annabelle.
Aubrey was what I was gonna say.
That feels right.
Annabelle, after saying something very sus, I thought kind of gave away the game. She was like, I'm not gonna need this revolver. So she gives the revolver back to her husband that she hates so much. And then immediately, apparently, hangs herself at the party, which is something that no one was expecting, certainly not me, especially after her having a very sexy discussion with two of our main characters. But I want to know, how does she float outside the window of Nora's bedroom later on? How that's like a big part of it, where they make Nora like go fucking nuts. I would too if this hot woman who was just flirting with me in my bedroom mere hours ago is, one, I just saw her dead body, and two, now she's a spooky ghost floating outside of my bedroom trying to lure me, still sexy, lure me with the same rope she used to kill herself. She must have been feeling a lot of feelings, poor Nora.
What I loved about Nora, and whatever that actress's name, her performance, is she would always like stop, really think about what was happening, process it, and then do a blood curdling scream. But it really came after she'd been like, what's going on in here? This is scary. I'm afraid. Ah! Like it really was later. It really was later.
Saw her go through all of the thoughts.
Yeah, you could really see it on her face. Gorgeous performance.
Incredible performance. Biggest eyes in the game. Perfect. Like one of the OG Scream queens. We love her. Iconic.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on in that moment. Actually, I think when we first see that Annabelle has quote unquote killed herself was really great. Because it's after we're already getting hints that like Nora is hysterical. Nora is experiencing hysteria. Nora has run out of the room where we told her to stay and hide. And then Lance sees that you like hear a scream, and then you hear it like choking off, gurgling a little bit. And he runs over, and you just see the bottom half of her body. And the way they did the reveal, where it's like Dr. David Trent comes down, he's like, we got to get the body down. They carry the body into the other room. They lay the body on the bed. And it's only when Mr. Lorne walks in that it's like, oh, you see her face, and it's Annabelle all along. Like, I thought
no one saw that coming.
A twist. But yeah, I loved
Agnes all along. Did you do that on purpose?
Agatha all along.
Agnes. I don't know anyone.
Agnes was her like name in the neighborhood, and then it was like revealed that her real name was Agatha. So it was both. You're right.
Okay. All right.
You nailed it. You killed it.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, I loved that when Nora is upstairs in her bedroom, or a bedroom, but I think hers, and Annabelle, presumably they have a crane. It's the only real thing that can work. They've hoisted her up.
Infrastructure.
Yeah. And they have fed some sort of wire or puppet strings or something into the rope itself so that it can coil around Nora's feet. That truly is a feat of engineering, maybe some sort of women in STEM. I don't know. But that part was so great. And then she's just like outside being spooky, and then Nora, like, that's when the hand comes in to grab Nora's face that Sydney was just talking about.
It's like a werewolf hand.
Yeah, it's like a werewolf hand. And then she runs downstairs.
Inexplicably a werewolf hand. One of the people who died in the house was a werewolf.
Gorgeous, amazing. There were 7. Any one of them could have been a werewolf. But then she runs downstairs and she sees Annabelle hanging again, but in a new location and even spookier than last time with her eyes all popping out. Scary.
Very scary.
Very scary.
I do want to give some shine to the reveal that Annabelle and the doctor have been in on this from the get-go. Because I did not know about that like hanging corset that you could wear, and that was really cool. And also she looked really hot in it and gave me Ren Fair vibes. So I liked it all
Ren
around.
Fair vibes.
Don't understand how it works, but I support it, I guess.
Yeah, I think what was so interesting was on the rewatch, they kind of hint earlier on, like there's a moment when everybody's down in, I don't know, the parlor or whatever, and they're all talking about stuff like right after they whip out the guns, and Annabelle and Dr. Trent are basically saying in the open what's going on because nobody else has enough context to like pick up on it. But she says something like fear makes people do amazing things, because it's right after Nora was already scared by Jonas Slide's wife or whatever their names are, the spooky lady caretaker, and Ruth or somebody is like, if she'd been scared and she'd had a gun, can you imagine? And then they basically say, yes, that's our plan. You'll see in 20 minutes. And then we do see in 20 minutes.
Yeah, because it's a short movie.
It's a tight turnaround.
Tight, 1 hour, 14 minutes.
Love a good, well, it's a B movie, so it was the second movie played, so it's gotta be a shorty. And honestly, I wish it was a little longer. There again, I would like more backstory, a little bit,
because the ending is a little like, what? Like, it's over. I'm like, what? Like,
that's
it. But okay, I mean, let's talk about the ending because it's absolutely gorgeous. You're like, oh, they finally got it all figured out. They've sent Nora down. Nora thinks that Mr. Loren has strangled her, but it was actually the doctor. And so she's all scared of him, and she's got a gun, and they're in the basement. The basement is scary. And I knew things were going to go wrong when Annabelle was like, oh, doctor, you should be there when the death occurs. I was like, he's going to get shot instead. I was wrong. But either way, Loren gets shot, and there's a kerfuffle, and Nora runs away. And then this is my question. Why did the doctor put his body in the acid? Why would that be the thing to do? Because that's what he was trying to do. He's trying to pick up Loren and drag him into the acid. But their whole idea for this whole plan is that Nora's supposed to have shot him. So like, why would they want to dissolve the body? Like, that's their alibi.
Yeah. Why go through the trouble of framing somebody, not even just framing somebody else, orchestrating somebody else actually committing the murder, if you are going to then destroy the evidence? It just feels like Dr. Trent is stupid, and maybe he is.
Maybe he's stupid. Maybe that's it. Or maybe like they're like, oh, we have this vat of acid here. We got to
it's kind of a plot hole for not using it. Yeah.
But then the lights cut out. You hear a kaplop and a kind of sound, a guttural male, and you don't know who's plopped into the acid and likely dissolved, like the rat. And then we get the coolest, dumbest death I have ever seen in my life to end this movie. Annabelle comes out.
Cinematic. It's a cinematic masterpiece. Is that the
Yes.
word?
Yeah,
Yes.
you got it.
I was like,
Yeah.
why is my brain not?
Claps.
Yeah.
Snaps
It
for
was
Sid.
cinematic. It's stunning. But okay, I mean, I guess that I would also have a crazy reaction if I came down to find my lover after recently orchestrating the murder of my husband and hopefully being excited to inherit millions upon millions of dollars. I would be shocked if all of a sudden a skeleton rises into the sky from the vat of acid and comes towards me. But like, why back away towards the vat of acid? It was so frustrating to me. I was screaming at the screen. Could you see that from my video chat while we were watching it? Screaming, saying, don't turn your back on the acid, bitch. Because I really wanted her to win. I wanted her to win. She's sexy, and I wanted her to get away with murder and all the money. I'm sorry. I'll say it, though. I wanted Vincent Price to die.
I wanted that too. I didn't like that he pulled her hair. I think hair pulling, if non-consensual, is mean and bad.
Yeah. So fuck him. But I mean, I was so confused. I was like, how is this skeleton rising up? Like, wow, it really is haunted. It really got me, except I was like, haha, how funny.
You can
I can
see-
see all the wires. I was like, this really is a B movie. Like that, the production was almost there. No, it was intentional.
Oh,
'Cause it's
the wires
Lauren all
are so
along.
good.
It's so
Yes,
good.
that's the answer for the lady earlier. Like maybe she really was just on like a little dolly or something that they were dragging along. If they were all in on the prank, and the husband was presumably down there too, because he bonked what's his face Lance on the head.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It had to have been Lance doing that. Or not Lance, the husband doing that. Interesting. We're figuring
Anyway.
it all out. But I mean, the reveal that it's Mr. Loren with the craziest puppeteering mechanism strapped to his entire body, who's made this
good.
happen. Like literally the skeleton pushes Annabelle into the vat of acid. Like the skeleton is like boop, and she just goes down. But there's a weird pause where like I was like, did you get the cue wrong? Were you waiting for the director to say, now fall? Because there's like a weird little pause right before she goes in. But I like it. And then
I like that she was wearing such a sexy little negligee that whole scene for no
Ooh.
real
Oh my
good reason
God.
other than to be a hot bitch. So good for her.
well, she like changed into the negligee to like die for the part
basically.
where she like fake hangs herself. She had like been in that other outfit and then changed into the negligee and then was like did the
Oh,
fake hanging in the negligee. I think it might be because it has a high neckline and it covers up the thingy thing.
You'd
Either
think
way,
you'd
it's
see
sexy.
her hanging harness though, when all she's wearing is like a see-through robe and undies though.
Movie
That must have been
magic.
what she had on underneath.
Movie magic.
Movie magic is so beautiful and wonderful and inspiring.
Yeah. And then this movie, like, it's the most epic ending. And then everyone comes down there, like, what the fuck happened? And he was like, they were trying to kill me all along. So I killed them. The end.
He's like, I'll let justice decide. And it's like, baby, you've got a whole fake skeleton set up here. Like, you can't now pretend like she just fell in and you wrestled the other guy for your life. Like, clearly you did some plotting.
This is premeditated murder on his side, too.
And him being
100%.
like, don't worry, Nora, I put blanks in your gun. Again, premeditated. And you just admitted it to everybody.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. It's like tap, tap, no trade backs. It's just like he's like trying to use some sort of weird rules. Like, no. She was trying to kill me. But I said jinx and I killed her. And so it goes back to her and she's the one who's in trouble. Like that's
It's
how
like
it makes sense.
An I'm
on
rubber
you.
and you're glue situation. So
Yeah.
she made an attempt, but it bounced right off of me and then it stuck to her.
But she's the one who
She's
is bad.
glue. Yeah.
She's glue. She was trying to kill me first. So when I premeditatedly planned for months and months and months to kill her, it was just like to match her energy, you know? Okay, so that's
Sure.
House on Haunted Hill. The question we have to ask is, how could it be gayer?
When we were watching the second second that Annabelle and Nora were in the same room together, we were all immediately like, this is so gay. This is so gay. And then they
close
like
talking.
Faces, so intense.
Oh yeah.
And for 1959, like, this is gay.
That's
Palpable.
gay.
It was gay. It was 100% gay. Annabelle is also like way taller than Nora, so I was getting the big woman vibes that I talked about incessantly on the Bedazzled episode. So I really liked that. And she was wearing her like sexy little outfit. My God, it was amazing. I want to rewatch that part. Oh
yeah.
God.
I mean, she can be a bisexual. She certainly can. And I love that for her. But I also feel like she does not give one shit about Dr. David Trent. She just was also using him to kill her husband, which is why she was like, I actually don't need to be involved in the shooting part, and I don't need to be downstairs in the basement, but you should go down there to make sure it's happening.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't feel a lot of chemistry between them. Meanwhile, I felt hot fireworks exploding when I saw her with Nora. So, you know.
Yeah. Although no doubt Mr. Lauren was being like, my wife is hysteric and she's crazy. Send her to the hospital. And Dr. David Trent was jerking her off. So, I mean, maybe there is something there.
And that's where love bloomed.
Also, I was reading this article about famous bisexual people, and Vincent Price is like listed as one of these people, and he was a huge like LGBT supporter because his daughter is a lesbian. I believe she's still alive, but there's a quote that says, hold on, when I came out to my father, she claims that Price said, you know, I just know how you feel because I've had these deep, loving relationships with men in my life, and all my wives were jealous.
Oh.
Oh my God.
He said, baby, I'm homo-romantic as hell.
I'm obsessed with him. I already was. This is my first movie with him that I've ever seen. Now I will watch every single one because 1, it was amazing. And 2, we got to support a bi king. We have to.
And here's the thing too. He's in the original House of Wax.
Oh, fuck. Oh yeah. I fucking forgot about that. Yeah. I read that in the notes. And then he's also been actually in a movie that I have seen. He's like a side character in something. I'm not going to remember now. But I have seen him on screen before, but I did not know who I was viewing because I was a fool. I was but a fool. But I'm going to fix it. Don't worry, listeners. I'm going to fix it.
Okay.
And one of my favorite things, like I'm a big Scooby-Doo head. Yeah. And in like throughout like Scooby-Doo, they have Vincent Van Ghoul.
Yes.
And he's like this character, and it's based off Vincent Price, which is just like incredible. Also in the he's like the voice of in the Michael Jackson Thriller video too.
Yes. Which is so iconic. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, of fucking course. That's amazing. He's literally the voice of spookiness, like the iconic voice of spookiness.
Well, like weird fact with this one, like all the screams and stuff at the beginning of this movie is the reason why we now just have like vinyls and soundtracks of like spooky recordings for people to play. And Vincent Price is the voice of the original Monster Mash.
A king. Spooky king.
Excuse me. Also, okay, another thing that I read, just we're talking about sound. The person who did the music for this movie was Vaughn Dexter, and he went on to do, I know, he composed the score for 13 Ghosts, William Castle's 13 Ghosts, and a movie called Dr. Sardonicus, which is fun. But he like kind of like not created but like popularized the like prototypical spooky movie soundtrack with like the otherworldly like moans, and it says in this quote, more theremin than you can shake a stick at, which I like. That phrasing a lot. But yeah, it was like the prototype of pretty much all horror films afterwards followed, and he like was a huge influence on Danny Elfman and John Carpenter and a bunch of others. So super cool that this is horror history, baby.
Again, horror is queer,
Mhm.
hands down. Horror is the genre.
So this movie just inherently gay.
Inherently
Gay.
gay. Inherently gay. It
Inherently
really
gay.
is.
But also, Nora and Annabelle have so much chemistry.
They do.
And in a reboot, arguably, they should kiss.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they definitely kiss in the reboot.
Yeah, I think that it would be fun to have a reboot where the plan goes horribly awry because they're trying to make Nora go hysterical and kill Lauren, but instead they fall hysterically in love. They're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And they have to come up with another plan. Fun little wrench in the game. It's like, damn, this was a horrible time to find out that I'm gay, but here we are.
But here we are. What are we gonna do with it now? Yeah,
What
gotta
are we
roll
gonna
with the
do?
punches. You gotta be willing to improvise.
Oh, totally. Okay, so the next question that we have is always, where would Matthew Lillard fit into this film? And I think we have an entire recast for a reboot planned for this section. Actually, did we get to everyone, or did we just think of most people?
We sure didn't, but I've got ideas.
Okay.
But I mean, let's do Maddie Lily first because it's an iconic placement, and we already discussed it last night and finalized, and I think it's wonderful. Would one of you like to say it?
You can say
No,
it,
it's all
babe.
you, baby.
You gotta
Oh my
do
god!
it, babe.
Oh my god! Me?
You.
Wow! Thank you so much. The honor is all mine. But I think it's very obvious that he should play Mr. Lauren. Like, he's incredible. He's iconic. He's also 6'4". We know
Very
he can bring
important.
bisexual vibes because we've seen him as Stu in Scream, and also we've seen him in some other movies bringing bisexual vibes, but we haven't covered those yet on the pod. But yeah, I think that is an incredible placement for him. We know he loves a little villain moment. We know he can do a great monologue. And I would love to hear him deliver the line, "It's a pity you didn't know when you started playing your game of murder that I was playing too," or whatever he says. I think I just
Yes.
a couple extra words in there. But yeah, that line, incredible, iconic, amazing. Maddie Lily could kill it. And I think he would be amazing, incredible, just all around as Mr. Lauren.
And I think he would be so fine with the Vincent Price mustache.
Mm-hmm. He should give it a try.
Yes.
He should consider
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Like, literally, this should happen now. Like,
Yeah.
right now. Has there been a revamp is a word that I wasn't trying to say. Anyway, has there been a revamp of this movie since the 1999 one?
No, but I did actually find an article on Screen Rant that was like recasting House on Haunted Hill in 2021, and they had some interesting ideas.
Wow.
But I don't agree with all of them. But I was like, interesting that somebody else was also recasting this movie.
That's so funny. It's such a fun story that people just want it again. But okay, so we got Maddie as our main boy. And then we know who we want to be Annabelle.
Yeah, I mean, I was just getting such strong Sophie Turner vibes the whole time we were watching it last night.
They look
and I
alike.
think she's amazing. They do look alike. She, I feel like, loves to be spooky. She dressed up as Morticia Addams from the Addams Family for Halloween one year with her husband Joe Jonas, and they did great. And I think she could bring that same energy to this role. I also think bisexual queen to play Annabelle. You know what I mean? And I think she and Maddie Lily would really have fun playing off of each other.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And they're like, the fact that she's the tallest woman alive, not true, but she's very tall, would go well because Maddie is still taller than her. So that works because he's got to be that tall, spooky, scary skeleton man in it.
Right. And like the age difference works because they do that whole thing where it's like, oh, this is his fourth wife.
Yeah. And there's
the
a
other
huge
two died
age
in their
difference
20s.
in the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's perfect. Okay. Who else? Who did we want to be Nora? Did we decide?
Somebody said last night Jenna Ortega because she's such a sweet young scream queen these days. And I could see her doing that, although I don't know. I think we can keep brainstorming as well.
Yeah.
I'm less
there, but we could have her.
Yeah, but Michael J. Fox or William H. Macy for Mr. Pritchard for sure. And then another one I thought of that I really liked is Miles Teller should play Lance. And no shade to Miles Teller. Don't know much about him, but he gives me similar whack vibes as Lance.
I support this.
do not tell Corey, a member of our spooky crew.
Oh yeah, she
is
knows that I
deeply
don't feel the
into
same
Miles
way
Teller.
about Miles Teller that she does. She is allowed to like him, and I'm allowed to have decided for
Of
no
course.
reason whatsoever, other than maybe his performance in like Two Night Stand, maybe I think is a movie that I watched with him, or another one, something like that, where I was just like, no, immediately no. But I think
Crushed it in the Taylor Swift music video, though.
he did. He
Absolutely
did crush it.
crushed.
Yeah, he did.
Fair.
But I think he looks like the guy, and I think that he could bring that same like kind of smarmy playboy-ish energy. He could play a jet pilot for
Okay.
sure.
All right. Okay. I weirdly said last night that I wanted Loren to be the doctor to be played by the dad from The Hills Have Eyes. What's that actor's name?
Oh,
but then I took it back. But now I'm bringing him back into the fold because I want him to be the butler man, because I think that would be fun.
Okay. I also have a butler cast, and it would be actor Brad Garrett, who was the brother on Everybody Loves Raymond.
Bitch.
amazing.
Oh, wait, did Chelsea not know Brad Garrett's name on site? Because I know Brad Garrett on site. You say Brad Garrett, I know.
Why are you
Brad
calling
Garrett.
me out? I wasn't even doing anything.
Well, you were like, oh, and I was like,
like,
no, it's
look,
okay. It's
I
fine.
took a second to process.
Loved Everybody Loves Raymond. It was a staple in my household. My grandparents watched it all day, every day.
I just feel like he's 6'8", so he would have like tall, like caretaker butler vibes.
That's too tall though for people to be, I think maybe.
It's very tall.
He should, although it doesn't look that tall on, I mean it's very tall, but I liked Single Parent, and he was cute on it, and he had like a charming romance storyline.
Put him next to Shaq. That's not tall at all.
There you go. Put Shaq in this movie.
I honestly don't know how tall Shaq is. I should know. As
You
someone who
should,
knows.
yeah.
I really should. Shaq height. I know his shoe was as big as my forearm. 7'1". Okay, so they're actually
7'1".
like it's not that far off from each other. Let's move on.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't have any.
I have one more.
Please.
Okay.
Ruth, the older woman who blood keeps dripping on,
Mhm.
Holland Taylor.
Ooh. Love Holland Taylor. Also gay. Sarah Paulson's girlfriend.
Oh fuck yeah. 100%.
Also, she was in The Chair
Legally
on
Blonde.
Netflix, the Sandra Oh show. And
Oh
Legally
yeah,
Blonde.
no, she's incredible. She's so fucking awesome. I just don't know anyone's name.
Sorry, I called her Sarah Paulson's girlfriend. Sarah Paulson is actually her girlfriend.
That's true.
Yes, but I think she would be incredible as Ruth, and obviously give her more of a storyline.
I love that. That's a really important, powerful, and gay ad. So thank you, Sydney. It's hitting all the stops. Okay, that brings us to dumb bitch. And there's a lot of dumb bitches in this, but it's still Mr. Lauren for me because he's mean. But he's also really smart and made a magic flying skeleton contraption. So he's really smart. It's really hard. It's the hardest question.
To give a nomination to Mr. Pritchard, I think, because he owns this house. It's a haunted house, and he doesn't live in it, which is like, okay, first of all, take advantage of your real estate. Second of all, if you don't want to live in it, that's fine. Maybe nobody else is buying it, I guess. I don't know. But then why is he agreeing to spend the night in there in exchange for $10,000? Which, by the way, we haven't said this yet, but $10,000 in 1959 is like almost $100,000 today. It's on 2021 dollars on IMDb trivia. Somebody said it was like 92,000. So it is a shit ton of money.
Yeah, I love that. I watched a trailer for the 1999 remake of this movie, and they upped the amount of money to $1 million. And I was like,
each?
Okay. I don't know if it was each. I didn't memorize the trailer, but it said for $1 million, blah blah blah. So that's
fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, I think he does his whole disembodied head thing in the beginning, being like, the ghosts are moving tonight, restless, hungry. And then he says at the end, and like I was saying earlier, Mr. Lawrence says in the beginning when he's introducing everybody, he says even about Mr. Pritchard, like, I don't really know why he's here though. And then we never find out why he's there other than to look directly into camera at the last moment and say, now there are 9. There'll be more, many more. They're coming for me now, and then they will come for you, which was a very fun ending. I thought it was a very fun ending. I thought it was very Twilight Zone.
Yes.
For the like narrator to walk out on camera, speak directly to audience.
I like it.
I also thought that was really, really fun in the 50s watching that. You know what I mean?
I like a little fourth wall break. I think that's fun.
Especially after a movie like this, where it's like part of the whole thing. And I don't know if this was the experience in the 50s or just my experience now in the 2020s. But I kept being like, is it supposed to look like a skeleton on wires, or was that just the best that they could do at the time? Like, was it supposed to look like the ghost lady was being wheeled in, or was that just the best they could do at the time? And it turns out it was supposed to look like that, maybe. Although it could be both. Who knows? But
Who knows?
I'm with you though on Pritchard. I think that it's him.
Yeah.
Dumb bitch.
But what a fun addition for them to like look into the camera. But yeah, I think, why are you there? If you believe that it's haunted, you really shouldn't be there unless you feel an obligation to everybody else since it's your house. I don't know. But like, they hinted that he had some kind of motivation and then they never gave it to us other than to be like, he's crazy. He's drunk.
Mm-hmm. I think it's
So
him.
he's probably just dumb.
He's the dumb bitch. He's the dumb bitch. Okay, that brings us
And
to
also,
our
hold on. No.
Go,
Just shout
go.
out to Lance for existing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, shout out to Lance.
He gets
Shout
stuck
out
in
to
the
Larry.
wall and we'll never find out what happens back there. He never brings it up.
Right?
Probably something
You know what I
terrible.
mean?
Maybe
He
that's
got
where the
stuck on a
werewolf is.
wall. Dummy.
Dummy. Okay, that brings us to our knives out of 5. So what did the people over time think of this film?
It is pretty well received. I mean, one thing that's funny is on IMDb, it says it was included among the American Film Institute's 2001 list of 400 movies nominated for the top 100 most heart-pounding American movies, which is to say it did not make the cut for the top 100
Very
most heart-pounding
convoluted.
American movies. Yeah. But it was one of the top 400. And like we said earlier, like without this movie, you probably wouldn't have Psycho, or at least you wouldn't have Psycho as it existed. Like seeing this low budget horror was what inspired Alfred Hitchcock to make his own low budget horror. And also this gave us a 1999 reboot that seems like very campy and fun. It was like part of Vincent Price's oeuvre, which gives us House of Wax, 13 Ghosts, etc. I just think all around very important in cinematic history. Gives you flying skeletons in theaters. Like, what more could you ask for? And it was a huge box office hit, just like generally. It was very successful. But on IMDb these days, it has a 6.8 out of 10 rating. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, it is 89% fresh from critics, and it is 73% fresh from audiences. And that being said, like, I feel like those people are all being haters. It should be 100%.
Are you giving it a 5 out of 5?
I mean, maybe, because it's like, what would you change other than I would make these characters gay and I would make them kiss and I would make one of them Matthew Lillard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they couldn't have done that at the time. They had their own restrictions. So it's like they did the best with what they could. They gave us powerful, palpable sexual chemistry between two of the female leads.
Yeah.
Nobody else kisses, so it's okay that the two women don't kiss.
It's fair. What will you give it? Are you gonna do it?
I feel like, yeah. I mean, I guess I could not, but because like,
Go with your gut, babe.
you know, I had a lot of fun and I thought it was very silly. No, I feel like Five Knives. I loved it.
yeah.
I thought it was great. I love that they break the fourth wall and look right into camera at the end. And then he goes,
I
you're next.
love
Like, that's so
that.
fun.
Here's the thing. I agree with you. This movie is absolutely a 5 out of 5 because, like, it's so much fun to watch. Like, I've watched this movie now 3 times in the last month because I watched it and then I was like, guys, we need to do this movie. And then I watched it twice to record this. And I had an absolute blast every single time I watched it, even if I watched it 3 times in a month, like a psychopath, you know?
And you're very familiar with the source material, so you really know what you're talking about.
I love this movie. It's so funny. It's quick. It's easy to watch. Like, do I wish a little things were more fleshed out? Sure. But oh well, I'm still having a great time. Like, if somebody is watching this, I'm not going to say, "Oh no, put something else on." Like, if this came on the TV, I'm immediately stopping and watching I'm dropping whatever I'm doing, sitting my ass on the couch and watching this movie.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. For me, I really, really liked it. I thought it was really fun. I didn't give it the full attention that it needed to, and I didn't have time to watch it again. So I feel like maybe I would get all the way to a 5 if I had watched it again and given it that time. But it just didn't fully take me to a 5 this first time around. I'm gonna give it a 4.7, which is still really fucking good. Okay. But I really, really liked it, and it's so cool. It's so clear how this is like a piece of horror history, how it's informed so much of the fucking genre, like for the rest of perpetuity, on and on and on. So that's really amazing. And I will love this movie forever for being my first intro into Vincent Price, except for the thriller voice. And yeah, I can't wait to go on a whole bisexual king journey with him. That's going to be sick. So thank you, Sydney, for making me sit my ass down and watch this because it was really fun.
You're welcome.
So that closes the book on The House on Haunted Hill until we do the 1999 one at some point, because honestly, I really want to. It looks like it's bad in the best way. Huh?
Reboot month.
Reboot month. We can do that. That'd be fun.
Reboot month.
But next week we're doing a movie.
Do House of Wax again.
Again.
But next week we're doing a movie that is not a reboot. This is a cool original idea. It came out in 2012, a year where the world could have ended, but instead we got VHS, which is really, really fun movie. If you haven't seen it, it's like kind of vignette style. So there's many stories involved in like an overarching story. I remember it scared the little pants off me when I first saw this in college. And I was deeply spooked. And I can't wait to watch it again and see if it holds up. The reason this is on our mind is because one of the vignettes is directed by Ty West, who just did X. So, we went on IMDb of Ty West IMDb and we were like, oh, okay, that's a good idea to do for April. So yeah, I'm excited to revisit his vignette in particular because I remember really liking that one. So I think it's gonna be a fun one.
I'm excited I also watched this in college. And I've never seen it again, but I do also remember it being very spooky, like to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch this again. Spooky. So who knows? But I'm excited.
Chelsea looks so scared.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun because it's all directed. Each vignette is directed, I think, by a different person. So like if one isn't really like getting you going, the next one might, they're all very different stories. Okay. So it's cool. And it'll be fun to talk about.
And it's all like in found footage setting too. So it's like it feels more real, which is, a silly, goofy mood. We're going to have a great time.
Let's do it.
It's going to be beautiful. I'll give you a little Blair Witch and a little bit of everything else. Okay. Why not, give us a 5-star review? I'm just going to say it right out the gate. I'm not even going to do a little preamble. You had a great time. I had a great time. Vincent Price is bisexual. Why not write that in a 5-star review for us on Apple Podcasts and let everyone know because they might not know and they need to. And also we're getting ever closer to 100 reviews and we would love your help to get there. So come on, consider it. Also, why not follow us on social media? The TikToks keep getting better and better and better and sexier. It's incredible. You should see all the ones that Chelsea did for Bedazzled. They're so fucking funny. They're amazing. So follow us at spooky_Tuesday on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I think that's it. And then we're also Spooky Tuesday Pod on Facebook and Tumblr, and Spooky Tuesday on Letterboxd to see all of our 5 Knives Out of 5 reviews and ones that aren't quite 5 Knives Out of 5. And at the end of the day, what I want to say is thank you for listening.
Bye, spookies.
Bridget, I've had enough of your spook talk. Get out, you sot, and don't come back into this room again.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamara, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.